Do you want to know a simple and easy way to get your cucumbers and tomatoes off of the ground? In this video, I'm going to show you how to build a very simple and easy trellis that anyone can do. Hi, this is Jeremy Starke, Green Thumb Gardener. This is the place where I show you reviews, tips, tutorials, and anything else on your gardening needs. Please subscribe to our channel where we provide content related to anything with gardening, whether it be DIY, tutorials, tips, and you can see any of these in the future videos by subscribing down below there. Also, give us a green thumbs up if you do like this video, if it was helpful for you. Now that we've got that out of the way, let's get into the show. Today we're going to build a very simple and easy trellis that anyone can do with materials that you get at your local hardware store, you can order online. Basically, this is a trellis right here that if you don't know what a trellis is, it's basically a vertical stand that you can put your plants on to get them up off the ground. Why this is important is for some vegetables that are vining vegetables, such as cucumbers, pole beans, tomatoes that are vining tomatoes, it's really important to get them off the ground, because what that does is it prevents the moisture and any soil, fungi or anything like that that could possibly infect the plants. So they actually grow. They do a little more vigorous growth when you do get them up off the ground and you have them on here. So it really is it's a good way to maximize and produce more vegetables that you have. Also, I've heard too is that some of the cucumbers that if you do leave them on the ground, they actually don't turn green because they're hidden from the sun. So they actually get more exposed to the sun and are able to get much greener. I've always had them up there, but I'm sure, let me know in the comments if you ever seen any of those before. What I'll show you basically is very easy, the materials that you need to do it, the steps that you need to do it, and then also some tips on, kind of some ideal practices to do with it. All right, now let's gather the materials that you'll actually need to do this project. So one of the first things that you'll need is you'll actually need 3/4 inch electrical conduit. You can get this down at your local hardware store. Basically, you just want to go in and make sure that it is, you want to make sure it's rigid, because it does need to stand up to, some winds and, obviously use that you're going to have for it. And plus the weight of the vegetables when you do have them on there, it does want to be somewhat that strong. You can find this, it's 3/4 inch is the one that I use. Then the next thing you also want to get is a 90-degree corner bracket. There's different variations of this. What I suggest when you go down there, make sure this actually fits in your conduit as well. But you can get some that have screws on it. You can get some that has basically ones with an Allen wrench, which is one of those hexagon screw things. So you can also do that as well, one of those that will have in there. Just so you know, anything that I go over in here, I'll put the notes in the description if you want to take a look at those and links to where you can find those. You get one of these, and these are going to be used to put for the angles. So for this one, you'll actually need 2 of them for that, and you'll also need enough conduit basically to build something that's about 6 feet tall, and then I would say somewhere around 4 feet. I mean, it really depends on your garden, but you can, I would do 4 feet. I wouldn't do too much on there, because you want to make sure it's not too heavy and it's supporting it. You're going to need enough electrical conduit. Now, you can have the actual hardware store, they can actually cut the piping for you if you do ask them. So you want to make sure that you tell them your measurements, and if you don't actually have it, you want to use what's called a pipe cutter. Here's one of the pipe cutters that I use to cut this. I would say that you're going to need at least 12 feet and then another 4 foot. So you're going to need about 16 feet for each pipe. Where you're cutting this is 6 feet by 4 feet. But obviously, if you want to do something a little bit different, then just make sure you have those measurements out. The next thing that you also need, you'll actually need the trellis netting. What I like to do is get the one that has the vinyl netting, and again, I'll put the link in this down below. The other thing you're also going to need to put this in the ground is actually a rebar. Again, these are found at your local hardware stores, but there'll also be some links below just so you can see what it is. But I think this one is I think it's like 2 feet. I mean, this is plenty. The length that actually needs to go in here is plenty to get in your ground. Some of the tools that you need is you'll need an actual mallet or a hammer. I just use a hammer, but you can use a mallet as well. You'll also need some scissors to cut the netting, and you'll also need screwdriver, if you don't have the Allen wrench version of that, you'll need the screwdriver to actually screw in the actual piping. And then also a tape measure if you just want to measure it in case you want to have a different size for it. All right, let's show you what you need to do to get this put together. All right, so once you get all your pieces all cut out and everything, what you want to do is you want to do a dry fitting of everything just to make sure that it does, come in here and everything fits in nicely. And so you either screw it in with your screwdriver or you use your Allen wrench to screw these in. And then you want to stand it up, and then you want to bring it over to where you want to put it in your garden. Some actual tips as far as where you want to place these. You do want to place this on the north side of your garden, and the reason is for that is that it will create a shade barrier for that, because of the way the sun comes in this, goes over the south. So you want to make sure that it is on the north side of your garden. That way all your other vegetables aren't shaded for there. So make sure that you have a good location for it, and that you keep that in mind. I mean, if you do want to have them shaded, like if you use for lettuce or other crops that don't mind the shade, then that's fine. You can put it wherever you need to. But I would suggest do that if you're growing other things like peppers and squash and things like that. You want to make sure that they have plenty of sun. So let me show you basically what I do to get it in the actual garden and put it up, and then we'll set up the trellis as well. Okay, so after you have everything all cut out, the next thing you want to do is you want to get your rebar and your hammer or your mallet. And then you want to basically find the place in your garden for this that you want to put it. So, as I said, you want to make sure that it's on the northern side if you're trying to be wary of the sun and everything. Basically, what I do is just hammer the rebar in, and I kind of just made sure I took my actual frame itself, and then I placed it where the actual frame comes, for that. And then you want to take your rebar and just hammer it in. Kind of make sure that it's in the right place before you really get it in there good. Now, if for some reason that you can't actually hammer it all the way into the ground because you might have some rocky soil or some clay soil like we have here, you can make this a little bit shorter. You can have the garden center also cut these for you, or you can get a shorter version of this. But the good thing about these is that these are hollow, so I think I only went in maybe a foot or so in the ground, and then so once you get that in place, you put everything in and you just fasten it down like that, and it should stand up on its own. One of the other things you want to keep in mind too is if your garden's in an exposed area, you also might want to secure these a little bit better. You can actually take some vine, you can actually take some some kind of rope or something like that and fasten it to anything. But I'll be honest with you, I've had it out and I've never had any problems with the wind or anything like that. But if you do want to make sure that it does stay up, I mean, you can do that. It's an extra step for it, just to make sure that it is secure a little bit. But as far as if you have the rebar in there and these are actual steel, they shouldn't go over at all. So let me show you basically some tips on the setting up the trellis net itself and basically how to do it. Now on this existing one that I have right here, I've obviously already put it in together, but I'll show you a nice green saving tip for you so that you can save some green at the store. Okay, now that you've got your trellis actually set up, now the next step is to put the netting on it. Here's the netting that I actually used for this, and what I did is I only needed 5 foot by 15 feet. Now here's a little tip. I got a much bigger one. Actually, mine's are 6 feet by about 4 feet. It's about 6 feet by 4 or 5 feet. So what I made sure is I got a 15-foot net, even though I don't need 15 feet. What I did is, so I can just buy this once. It's actually cheaper to buy a bigger one than it is to buy the actual size. So what I did is I cut it in half, so I have about 7.5 feet for each net. So when I want to use it again, if I need to use it again, then that way there I already have it. So I only buy it once every other year. But that's a good way to save a little bit of money if you need to. What you want to do is you want to lay this out, and each piece will basically have a little fastening. You just want to tie it down, tie each one on here. You want to make it a little bit, somewhat taut, but not too tight or anything. You just want to make sure that they're all tied and it's fastened in. And then on the bottom part, you can basically have it come all the way down to the ground. I usually have it up a little bit. I have a little space up there because of the beans and the cucumbers are going to find the way up there, and you're going to train it on there. So you want to make sure that when you're planting it, it's obviously close to the trellis, and that it has enough you know, it's able to grow up there and find the thing. But usually they'll be able to find it. They're pretty smart when it comes to those kind of things. That's really it, you know, building a trellis. And tell me if you want to use a trellis, what do you do to what vegetables are you putting on your trellis? Tell me in the comments below. Please like us below and subscribe to this video if you did find this helpful for you and you want to see other content that is, you know, similar to this right here. And as always, thanks for watching our show, and we'll see you in the next video.